In today's lesson, we will be looking at the National 5 topic, the discriminant. We'll be doing this work without a calculator, and part 1 focuses on the skills you will need to be able to tackle these questions. Okay, so the prior knowledge that we need. Okay, you need to be good with BODMAS or BIDMAS, depending on what your teacher calls it. You need to be good at the 4 operations with negative numbers. That means that you need to be good at multiplying, dividing, adding and subtracting with negative numbers. Knowing your square numbers up to 15 squared is always very helpful. If you need to multiply by 4, which you do in the discriminant, it can sometimes be helpful to double and double again. Okay, sometimes that's a wee bit quicker. And you also need to remember that when you get to the point of just multiplying, like when you're working out the bit 4ab, b squared minus 4ab, remember that if it helps you, you can rearrange the numbers into any order that you want that helps you to work it out easier. Okay, so you'll see this last one here, a times b, and then instead of having times 4, I've got double and double again. Okay, so hopefully you've met the discriminant before, so that you will know that the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. You might well have forgotten where that came from though. Okay, the discriminant is part of the quadratic formula. Now, your quadratic formula is used to find the coordinates of roots. It helps you to get the x. You get that formula on your formula sheet, and you can see there's a discriminant there. It's the bit that's under the square root sign. Okay, that's why we like looking at this bit, because there are 3 different things that can happen here. One of them being that you can't take the square root of a negative number. Okay, now you could say that you need to memorise the discriminant, but actually I just remember to look at my formula sheet and just to write down that bit when I'm working with my discriminant. Okay, so I'm going to look at the first row of the table here, where it's telling us b squared minus 4ac. What's going to happen when b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0? Okay, so that similarly means bigger than. It starts with a wide bit, bigger. It starts with the biggest bit, bigger than 0. Okay, now have a wee look at the graph over here. When b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0, if we have a curve like this one here, there's a happy one, that's a positive x squared one, that one, you will have 2 roots, okay? 2 roots there. 2 places where that curve is crossing over our x-axis, okay? Here's another example here, a sad graph. You get a sad graph when we have got a negative x squared coefficient. But again, for this graph here, you can see it's crossing over the x-axis at 2 places. Okay, so there's 2 roots for this one here. So let's have a look at the terminology that we have to use for that. Okay, so here's the terminology for it, highlighted in green now. Okay, so if you find that b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0, we would describe the nature of the roots as being real and distinct roots. You need to use both those words. Okay, the next one. If b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, I wonder what the graphs are going to look like. Okay, so here are our graphs here. So when b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, here's our happy graph. It comes down, it touches the x-axis in one place, and it goes back up again. Here's a sad graph. Again, this one would have the negative x squared coefficient. Comes up, touches the x-axis in one place, and it comes back down. Okay, so at its turning point, it hits the x-axis and it comes back down that one. So what terminology do we use for these? Okay, so if we find that b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, we say that the roots are real and equal. Okay, last one. b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. Okay, notice it starts with the little pointy bit, that's a small bit, less than 0. Okay, what are the graphs going to look like this time? So what you should notice this time is that our curve here, it comes down, it doesn't touch the x-axis at all, and then it goes back up. this one over here, it comes up to its turning point and then it comes away again. Neither of these graphs get as far as touching the x-axis at all. So we've got no roots for that one there. Proper terminology? Proper terminology for this one is no real roots, okay? Because at the moment, your teacher probably hasn't spoken to you about what you can do when you have to find the square root of a negative number, okay? So what we are working with at National 5 is real numbers as opposed to something else when you're trying to find the square root of a negative number, okay? So notice that in each of those three descriptions there, the word real is in all of them. Okay, what I'd like you to do just now is I'd like you to stop the video and I just want you to work out the discriminant for each of these three questions and we'll see how your number skills are. So pause it. Okay, so the first thing that I've done here is I've picked out A, B and C for each of my questions. Now you'll notice that each of these questions is quite similar, okay? So just be tricks in there because we have some negative numbers in there, okay? So we just need to watch out for those and make sure you've got the skills to deal with those negative numbers. So for each question there, I have substituted in my numbers. At the next stage, I need to think about BODMAS or BIDMAS. So in the first question that we've got here, we don't have brackets, but we do have orders or indices, depending on what your teacher calls them. So I'm going to work out 13 squared. Now 13 squared is 169. If you don't know how to work out 13 times 13, just showing you one method here, 13 times 10 and 13 times 3. And when you add them together, you get your 169. So the next part of the calculation, I need to think, do I have a divide? No divides. Do I have multiply? Yes, I've got multiply. So I need to be working out my 4 times 4 times 6, and I'm going to have a little think about how I might do that. Okay, so you can see down here that I'm starting to think about this in a slightly different way. I've rearranged the numbers. 4 times 6 makes 24. I've still got to multiply by 4, which is the same as doubling and doubling again. 24 doubled makes 48, and double it again makes 96. So I think I'll take away 100 because that's easier than taking away 96. But if I take away 100, I've taken off 4 too many, so I need to put that back on. 169 take away 100, 69 add 4 makes 73. Okay, next question. Now, this one does have brackets, but that's not really a big deal because there's nothing to work out inside that bracket anyway. So all I need to do for this one is just work out the bracket squared. So don't really have a bracket, but I've definitely got an order because of this squaring bit. So I'm going to work out this bit here first. Minus 13 squared. Minus 13 times minus 13. A minus times a minus makes a positive. So we've got 169 again. So this question is turning out to be exactly the same as the last one. So I know the answer for this one is also going to be 73. Will the next one be the same? No, I don't think it will be, will it? Again, using BODMAS. Have I got brackets? Yeah, but there's nothing to work out inside it, so I don't need to worry about that bracket. I have got an order, so I better deal with that. So deal with that bit now, and we've already worked out that a minus times a minus makes a positive, and 13 times 13 makes 169. Right, next one. We've got take away 4 times minus 4 times 6. Now we know that 4 times 4 times 6 made 96, so this one's going to make minus 96. So those two minuses together make an add, remember, so we need to be working out 169 plus 96. Okay, so I'm going to add on 100, but that's 4 too many, so I better take them off. So 269 take away 4, 265. Okay, here's another 3 for you to try. Again, be careful, they've got negative numbers in them, most of them. So pause the video and have a go at those ones. So far you can see that I have taken A to be the number in front of the x squared for each of those. I've taken B to be the number in front of the x term, and C is the part that is just a number. Okay, now remember the phrase, determine the nature of the roots, alerts me to the fact that I need to write out my discriminant, and I will start to substitute things in. So I've substituted my numbers in for the first one, and I'm back to using BODMAS at this stage to make sure I do things in the right order. I don't have brackets. If you use BODMAS, you do have orders. If you use BIDMAS, we do have indices. They're here. Okay, the squared bit. So we need to work that out first. Okay, so I've worked out in that line there is minus 9 squared. Remembering that a minus times a minus makes a positive. Told you those negative numbers would get in the way. Okay, so we now have takeaways and multiplies. So there's no divide, but we do have multiplies. So that's the next bit to work on. So again, I'm going to have a think about what order I'm going to do these in. 9 times 9, that makes... 9 times 4 rather. 9 times 4 makes 36, but there's still another 4 to multiply by. 36 times 4, if I double, that makes 72, but I'd still have to double it again. 144. Okay, so for this last wee bit here, it's got 81 take away 144. Now, I'm not sure what that is, so I'll think about doing 144 take away 81. So I'm doing that around the other way, okay? And I'll think about that as 144 take away 80 and take away 1. 64 take away 1 is 63. So when the sum's round the other way, it's going to make minus 63. Again, emphasising that it's important that you know how to work your negative numbers. So again, I've got to use BODMAS. You can see I've substituted my numbers in, the minus 9, 4, the minus 4, the minus 10s in there. There are no brackets. We have orders or indices depending on what you call them. So minus 9 squared is still 81. Okay, we don't have any divides. We do have a big long multiply bit, which is along here. Okay, so I'm just going to start off by writing 81 take away. Okay, so I'm just going to look at this green bit, alright? So it's got 2 negative numbers in there. Those 2 negatives together will make a positive. Okay, so we're going to get a positive answer for this green bit. I'm going to start from the back. 10 times 4 is 40. Times it by 4 again is 160. Now again, we've got this thing where we've got a small number take away a larger one, so I'm just going to swap that around the other way, and I'll do take away 80 and take away 1. 80 take away 1 makes 79. Okay, remember, now that subtraction that I did was round the wrong way, so my answer is 79. When I put it round the way that the question asked, that would give me minus 79. So 2 negative answers I got there. Okay, again, I've worked out my squared bit first. Just turning my multiply into a different order to see if I can do it nice and quickly. 18 doubled makes 36. Remember that times by 4 also is double and double. So 36 doubled is 72. 72 doubled, that's going to be 144. Ah, this one comes out as 0. So hopefully working through those, it gives you an idea of the level of the skills that you actually need to be able to work these out. Watch out for your negative numbers, watch out for BODMAS, BIDMAS. Yeah, be very, very careful. So last bit here is determine the nature of the roots for each of these. Now, these two here both came out with a negative answer. B squared minus 4ac is less than 0. Hence, there's a word that puts you off in an exam. Alright, nothing to be scared of. On the last slide I used so, b squared minus 4ac is less than 0 so, but this time I'm writing hence just to make it a little bit more mathematical. B squared minus 4ac is less than 0, hence there are no real roots. Okay, so that's what we would write for those two there. Now the last one here, this one, we've got b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. So there are real and equal roots. Okay, so the bit that I wrote in red, okay, no real roots because it's less than 0. When it's equal to 0, we know there's one root, but the proper phrase for that is to say that there are real and equal roots. Okay, make sure you're using the proper phrases. Okay, here's 4 more for you to do on your own. If you press pause, and then in the next couple of slides I'll go over how to do them, okay? So press pause. That's what you should have got for your first one. Notice that right at the start of this one you've got x squared, there's no number in front of it. Remember, that means that a is going to be 1, because in algebra if we don't have a number on, it's because we haven't written that 1 in there, okay? So I've substituted my numbers in and I've got 40. Oh, better finish that off with my wee sentence. B squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0, hence there are real and distinct roots. So 2 things to get into the sentence. You need to have this bit in, your b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0, and you also need to have this bit here with the real and distinct roots. Make sure you get those phrases right. Okay, and here's your second one here. You should have got 184. Things to watch out for here. You've got this bit here, which is going to come out as a negative answer when you come to do your multiply. Okay, so 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times minus 5 is minus 40. And then from there, over time, hopefully you've realised that that makes an add together. So 144 add 40 is 184. That also is bigger than 0. Okay, and I've got that same sentence for that one. Again, it's got 2 parts that you need to be careful that you get in. Make your statement about your discriminant being bigger than 0, and make sure you put in the bit about the real and distinct roots there as well. Okay, this is what you should have got for the calculation part of these 2 questions. So for the first one, I've got an answer of, what's it come out as, minus 15. Okay, so again, things to watch out for. Remember, a is 1 because there's not a number in front of the x squared, so we have that as a 1. B is minus 5, so remember that a minus times a minus makes a positive, so it comes out as positive 25. 25 take away 40. That could be a little bit sore in your head. Turn it round the other way and you'll get your answer of 15. So if we turn it back round the way that they want, it becomes minus 15. So we've got a negative answer for that one there. Okay, issues with the second one. Oh, the first thing I noticed that you might be a little bit wary of is 14 squared, 14 times 14. So remember that's the same as 14 times 10 and 14 times 4 added together. 14 doubled makes 28, 28 doubled makes the 56, and altogether that's 196. Okay, next thing to watch in that question was a negative times a negative makes a positive. So my working out for this bit here, because I knew that minus 7 times minus 7 makes a positive, I just worked out 7 times 7. And then I've still got to multiply by the 4. I've still got to multiply by the 4, which remember I like to turn that into double and double. So 49 doubled is 98. And then double it again makes 196. Now, putting that 196 back in, I get a final answer of 0 for that one there. So I'm just going to write my sentences in for these now. So for the first one, you'll notice that I've got b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, hence there are no real roots. And for the second question, b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, hence there are real and equal roots, so that's those ones there. Okay, and that's all the questions I wanted you to do today. I've got lots more that you could do if you want to do extra questions coming up next, okay? So pause the video if you need to look at anything that's written there, but I'm just going to go through quite a few slides where you could get some extra practice. Okay, so here's my first slide where you could get extra practice. Hit pause. Here's another slide that you could use for extra practice. Hit pause. Here's another slide that you could use for practice, and you could hit pause. Here's another one that you can use for practice. Hit pause. Here's another one again that you can use for practice. Hit pause. And I think this is the last one this time, so again, if you need more practice still, hit pause for those ones there.